I hate Clive. His smug lopsided grin, his greasy comb-over, his horn-rimmed glasses. I don't think I'd break if I saw him crossing the street. In fact, I fantasize about it every time I sit down in his office. Third time this week, huh? He asked me. It's not my fault, I said. I gave Robert every chance to back down. He's the one who should be in here, not me. He's not the one who punched a dent in someone's car. Of all the things I hate about Clive, nothing compares to his title as Human Resources Director. I wonder if he ever had sex, or if inconveniencing my life was the only thing he needed to get off. I apologized already, okay. Can I go back to work now? I can't just keep letting these incidents slide, Clive said, pressing his glasses into his face like he was trying to glue them on. This is going in my quarterly report to management. My fantasy of hitting him with the car now included a section where I back up once or twice. I clenched my fists, took a deep breath, and counted off a full 10 seconds in my mind. 51 sleepless nights. 204 getting written up would jeopardize my shot at the branch manager position. I didn't waste 4 years of my life in this shithole just to stay in sales. As much as it hurt, I was going to have to suck up to this beanbag masquerading as a human being. You're right. You're absolutely right, I replied. I was in the wrong there. Even though he was in my parking spot, I shouldn't have punched his car. I know I have a problem, and I've started taking an anger management class. It's going to help and this won't happen again, so please give me one more chance before you report it. Good for you, buddy. Buddy, call me that again, and I'll jab my pen in your neck, buddy. I smiled. I'll tell you what, he added. Give me the number of the place you're meeting at, and I'll check in with them. If they think you're showing signs of improvement, I'll keep this out of your report. Shit, now I'll actually have to go to a class. My mouth hurt from smiling so hard. Sure thing, buddy, I said. I don't have the number with me, but I'll bring it in tomorrow. I opened the door and immediately shut it again. This couldn't be the anger management class one found online. There was incense burning in there, and drums like some kind of freaking hippie circle. The door opened, and an old Asian man blended into the doorway. I felt a certain tranquility just from looking at him. He wore immaculate ceremonial robes like some sort of priest, and his snow-white hair cascaded down his back in gentle waves. He Tobias Wade, Com 205 bowed low to me, his body curving with a supple grace which utterly belied his apparent age. Hi, is this where the United Way Anger Group meets? Welcome, kind sir. My name is Ikari, and it is so good to see a man such as yourself so in command of his own destiny. Won't you please come in? There weren't any corny brochures with perfect models saying anger gives you ulcers. No dolls for me to be nice to, no punching bags to vent on. I don't really know what I was expecting, but it definitely wasn't this. The website said 6:30. Where is everyone? I asked. There weren't even any chairs in the small room. 2 cushions were placed on the ground between a pair of bonsai trees, and Ikari sat down on one to face me. No others, only you. I do not need groups, because those who seek my help must only ask once to be saved. I don't need saving, okay. I was starting to feel uncomfortable. The website looked legit, but this guy seemed more like a cultist than a therapist. What if he didn't have the right accreditation or something? I could be wasting my time. I handle my own issues just fine, I added. All I need is for you to talk to the HR director at my work and tell him, whatever, tell him I'm master of my destiny or something. I already paid online, so are we good? We are far from good, for we are each imperfect beings inflicted with the human condition. Do not worry though, you will soon be better. 51 sleepless nights. 2:06. I checked my watch. Tight smile. Can someone sprain a muscle from forcing too many of those? It felt like it. I sat cross-legged on the available pillow, and tried not to swear at the awkward position. Fucking shit. Oops. Oh well. He already knew I had an issue. Sorry. Don't you have a chair? Ikari just smiled, but his was nothing like my smile. His bubbled straight up from the warmth in his heart. It was patient and wise, almost as though he was reading straight from the divine playbook of the universe and knew everything was following the script. Do you know why there is suffering? Ikari asked. The measured tone made me pretty sure he wasn't talking about the lack of chairs. Because we're all evil sinners who deserve it. I asked. No one deserves to suffer, Ikari replied. But we do, because we each carry a demon in our hearts. Anger, jealousy, hatred, misery, these are ways we feed our demon. And do you know what happens when we fed it for too long? I shook my head. My demon must be pretty full by now. Ikari leaned in close to me and whispered, "Gobble gobble gobble. It eats us right up." The way he said it made me shudder. It was like he was satisfying a greedy pleasure just from speaking the words. I felt immense relief when he settled back into his own cushion before continuing. Eventually, our demon becomes stronger than we are, and it gets to be the one on the outside. Who we are, who we were, that gets locked away. And unless someone tricks the demon Tobias Wade. Com 207 into eating kindness, gratitude, patience, and other virtues, we will never become strong enough to wrestle the demon back down. So how do we stop feeding the demon? I asked. You take away its food. Ikari produced a small wooden jewelry box, every inch of which was engraven with Japanese lettering, and you put it in here. Have a bad feeling. Write it down on a piece of paper, slip the paper through this hole in the top. Angry at someone. Give it to the box. It won't be long before your demon begins to starve. Every problem can be solved by simply putting it in the box. And that's it. I won't be angry. I was trying really hard not to laugh at him. And I shall tell Mr. HR that you are all better. Ikari smiled and handed me the box. Only one more thing, you must not ever open the box, or gobble gobble gobble. Your demon will feed again. What a load, right? But that was easier than sitting through a bunch of dumb meetings. I would have just thrown the box out right then, but Ikari might check it later to see the notes I'd put in. When I got home, I figured I'd just get it all out of the way at once so I wouldn't have to think about it. I grabbed a notebook and tore out a couple dozen pieces of paper. The feeling when I'm stuck going 5 mph on the freeway. Slip. Clive's everything. I hate him so damn much. Slip. People who kick dogs. I wish they'd kick Clive instead. Slip. The more I wrote, the more ideas began flooding into my 51 sleepless nights 208 head. Everything I could think of that pissed me off started cramming into the box. People who steal parking spaces, fuck you Robert. The taste of orange juice after brushing your teeth. Every girl who has ever given me that, it's not you, it's me, shit. The box didn't look that big, and I expected it to only take 10 minutes to fill. 3 hours later though, I had emptied an entire notebook and still couldn't feel the paper inside. But do you know what I did feel? Like a motherfucking Buddha. It seemed absolutely ludicrous that any of those things have ever bothered me before. Poor Clive, just trying to do his job. Why did I have to give him such a hard time? And Robert should have my parking spot near the door. He was older than me, and I didn't mind the exercise. So how in the world did I get to the point of punching a dent in his car? I've never slept so well in my entire life. I'm usually tense and unable to find a comfortable position, but 5 minutes after I lay down, I was sound asleep. I did have one troubling dream though. There was a soft light coming from inside the box on my night table. In my dream, I got up to reach for it, but then I heard something inside of it scream like a man who has been pushed past the edge of breaking. I opened the box to see what was making the noise, and then gobble gobble gobble. I woke up to the freshest, most miraculous morning I could remember. The last 2 weeks were perfect for me. I worked tirelessly, unfettered by the daily aggravations which I used to spend half the day obsessing over. I started bringing the box to work just in case something came up in the day, and things always came up. Tobias Wade, Com 209. No point in risking my promotion, right? The box went everywhere with me. The sound of dry erase markers on a whiteboard. Slip. Suddenly the morning meeting was bearable again. Hey, did anyone hear that? Mr. Ellsworth turned away from the whiteboard to address the assembly. Something like a scream, a collective shrug, and sip of coffee. I thought I'd heard it too though. The moment I slipped the paper in, there had been a soft flash of light and an echoing scream. Clients who think they know how to do my job better than I do. Slip. Having to wear a tie all day. I could strangle someone with this tie. There it was again. It started out as a low moan, but rose into a gurgling scream after I had slipped the second note in. I glanced up to see Clive standing outside my cubicle. What are you doing? What do you want? Just looking at him made me agitated. I wanted to let you know that I called Mr. Ikari, and he said you showed a complete turnaround. As long as nothing happens before tomorrow, your report is going to be clean. Congratulations, buddy. When people I hate call me buddy, Clive again. The box screamed. It was louder this time. Clive had already gone, but someone was going to hear it if I kept this up. This 51 sleepless nights 210 was the second note I'd had to use for Clive too. I guess some hatred is too deep to extract all at once. Worse still, the moaning continued even though I wasn't putting anything in now. It sounded like the lamentations of a dying man. I shut the box in my drawer, but I could still hear it groaning away. Then a soft rattle. I opened the drawer, and saw the box trembling as a frightened animal. Well shit. I couldn't just throw it away. I had to get my anger out somehow, or that promotion was gone. I couldn't keep it here either though, because someone was going to. What's that sound? Is that the pipes? I didn't answer them. I didn't look at them. I walked fast through the building with the box in my pocket. The warehouse, it's always noisy down there. If I hide the box, then no one will hear it, and I can still get down to slip a note in if I need to. The sound of forklifts backing up. The restaurant which always gets my lunch order wrong. It was 4:30 now. Only half an hour to go and I was in the clear. I was walking down to the warehouse to slip my last note of the day into the box. Mr. Ellsworth keeping people till 5 even when there's nothing to do. I opened the crate of printer paper where I'd stored the box and reached around. Odd. I usually could hear the screaming when I was this close to it. Especially now, since the machinery was all quiet after the warehouse workers left for the day. It wasn't there. I practically dove into the crate, but my box wasn't anywhere. It was only half an hour though, right? I could Tobias Wade, COM 211 make it half an, but no. Without the box, the anger would still be there. Even if I did get the promotion, I'm sure Ellsworth would notice sooner or later and bump me back down. It wasn't fair. I'd put in the work, I was better than any of them. It wasn't right for me to keep getting passed over just because scream. There it was. What started out as a horrible sound now filled me with relief. It was the next sound which I dreaded more. What in God's name are you doing in there? I pulled myself out of the crate to face Clive. He was holding my box in his hand. And it was open. Give it back. Now, I snapped. It's mine. But he was reading my notes. Those were personal. He had no right to. Is this some kind of joke? Clive asked. Why is my name in here? And such rude language. You want language. Give me back my fucking box. My last note of the day was crumpled up in my hand. I was seeing red. I wanted to grab him by the throat but no. I needed that promotion. I couldn't lose it now. I'm sorry, Clive. It was just an assignment from anger management class. It's supposed to be confidential, so give it back. This doesn't need to change anything with your report. My report. Clive practically shrieked. You're still worried about your promotion. You aren't going to have a job at all after this. If this is how you really think, then we have no place for your 51 sleepless nights. 212 I punched him across the face. I didn't want to, but I couldn't stop myself. All the little frustrations and pent-up anger from the past 2 weeks were flooding back. I hit him for every day this company has stolen from my life. For every promotion which passed me over. And for every lonely night I sat at home too tired from work to go out. I pummeled his face into a pulpy mess, and still couldn't get enough. The box was screaming like a banshee, convulsing on the floor where Clive had dropped it. I couldn't tell how much of the blood on my knuckles was his, and how much was mine, and I didn't care. As good as it felt to be at peace with myself, this felt better. At least for a little while, until Clive stopped moving. I dropped him back to the warehouse ground. The screaming it was driving me crazy. I tried to stuff the scattered papers back into the empty box, but they wouldn't fit anymore. They spilled out over the ground, covered in my bloody fingerprints. How did I let this happen? What would Ikari have done? He said any problem could go away if I put it in the box. Well shit, Clive was a problem, and now he was going in a box, but that only made things worse. I stuffed his body and the bloody papers into one of the warehouse crates, mopped up as much of the blood as I could, and ran. Open up, old man. I was back at the anger management class. If this was anyone's fault, it was Ikari's. He must have known what the box did, or he never would have given it to me. He must know how to make things right. He had to. The door was unlocked, so I went in. Ikari was sitting on his cushion across from a middle-aged woman. I didn't want to involve anyone else in this, so I waited in the corner for her to Tobias Vade, com 213 finish. She handed a box which looked just like mine to Ikari and thanked him. She was so grateful. It changed her life. Well, good for fucking her, because it ruined mine. Please have a seat, Ikari said after the woman had gone. It was opened, I blurted out. Not by me, somebody else, and they're dead now. This isn't my fault, so you gotta help me fix this. I understand, he replied gravely. Then he leaned in real close, so close I wanted to hit him, but I held myself back, and he whispered, "Gobble gobble gobble." I actually pushed him back into his seat. Don't give me that shit. You must know what happens. Why do you do this to people? A slow smile crept across his peaceful face. Because I am so hungry. And all the hate they pour into their boxes returns to feed me. But you have already let your demon out, so what am I to eat now? The dead man in the warehouse was suddenly the least of my problems. Ikari was standing, although for some reason I never remembered watching him rise. Then he was behind me, not having touched the intervening space. I was absolutely speechless. I backpedaled until my back hit a wall. No, not a wall. He was behind me again. His arm wrapped around my neck, his long nails digging into the side of my throat. When I look at you, all I see is a demon now, he said. All I can see is your selfish hunger. I didn't dare speak. Even swallowing was enough to push 51 sleepless nights. 214 those nails deeper into my skin. I strained against his implacable grip with my hands. But with every motion, the puncture became deeper. His arm constricted with the relentless predatory pressure of a boa constrictor, and I was utterly helpless in its grasp. But your demon has already fed on my meal, so here's what you must do. Find those like yourself with anger burning in their hearts, and collect it for me as I have done with you. Twice each month you will bring me a new box filled with hatred, or he didn't need to finish the sentence. Gobble gobble gobble. The pressure slackened just enough for me to nod. Maybe someday I will learn how to trick my demon. Someday I will learn how to be kind, even with this hatred burning in my chest, and I will lock him away. Someday I will learn to control my anger and not the other way around, but until then, would you like to stop feeding your demon? You only need to ask once for me to save you.